Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Kuala Lumpur, home of the AFC and venue for the official draw of the 2020 AFC Cup and the 2020 AFC Champions League. My name is Reem and I will be with you throughout today's draws. It's very highly anticipated, and joining me in just a bit are two gentlemen who are no strangers to playing and of course being a part of Asian football at the very highest level. We have former Malaysian under-19 coach Boyan Hodak with us today, as well as former Warriors FC midfielder Roshan Rai. But before we do speak to them, let's first focus on the 2020 AFC Cup draw. There will be 36 teams in the hat, anxiously waiting to find out who their opponents will be in the group stage. And as the draw gets even closer, let's look at what we can expect from the proceedings that will take place in the Malaysian capital in this Draw Mechanics video.
Draw Mechanics, West Asia Zone. There shall only be one country port with the top 5 ranked MAs in alphabetical order. Based on the slot allocation and ranking, MA with one direct slot, Oman, and the winner of West Playoff 3 between Oman and Palestine will be positioned into their groups accordingly. Order of draw, West Asia Zone, Group A, B, C. League champions of the first, second and third drawn MAs will go into positions A1, B1 and C1, while the remaining clubs will go to positions B2, C2 and A2 respectively. League champions of the fourth and fifth drawn MAs will go to positions A3 and B3, while the remaining clubs will go to positions B4 and C4 respectively. Based on the ranking, club from Oman will take position C3. Playoff winner between Oman and Palestine will take position A4. Draw Mechanics, ASEAN Zone, Group F, G, H. There shall only be 2 country pots with 3 MAs each, in alphabetical order. Order of draw. League champion of the first, second and third drawn MAs will go to positions F1, G1 and H1, while the remaining clubs will go into position G2, H2 and F2 respectively. League champion of the 4th, 5th and 6th drawn MAs will go to positions F3, G3 and H3, while the remaining clubs which participated in the playoff stage go into positions G4, H4 and F4 respectively. Draw Mechanics, Central, South and East Zones, Groups D, E and I. Based on the ranking, the top 3 MAs from Central Asian Zone, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Kyrgyz Republic have 1 direct slot each in the group stage and shall be positioned at position D1, D2 and D3 respectively, while the winner of Central Asia Zone playoff will take position D4 in the group. The same draw principles apply for the South, E1 to E4 and East, I1 to I4 zones. This will conclude the draw for the AFC Cup 2020 group stage.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us in the studio. The new AFC Cup season is upon us, and in the 2020 edition, of course, the winner will automatically be included in the 2021 Champions League. Boya, maybe you can start off by telling us how will this then increase the competitiveness of this competition, and how does it even increase its prestigiousness and its stature?
Well, I think that for all teams, some target is to go to Champions League. So on this way, you're giving teams, for example, from Lebanon, like Al Ahad, to go to Champions League, which they didn't have this chance before. And all these teams in AFC Cup, they need to have some, like carrots, something to give more competitive matches, something that will be their overall target to go to next level. Champions League for them definitely will be next level. So I believe that last few years, maybe AFC lost a little bit competitiveness, and with this new rule, I believe that this will be more competitive than before.
And Roshan, how will it benefit the teams though in terms of their performance? I mean, it surely will get better, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think, what Boyan has said there, it makes complete sense. It gives them a little bit extra, something else to aim for. Yes, winning the AFC Cup is prestigious in its own right, and yes, all these teams that will be participating in it will want to go on and lift the trophy. We saw how much it meant in this year's competition, how much it meant to the players, and being at the final, speaking to some of these guys, you see how much it means for their respective countries. But then now, with that additional bonus of getting into the Champions League in 2021, that just suddenly gives the competition an additional boost, an extra boost to these teams, and it's something for them to aim for, playing at a higher level.
And we're just upon the new season, but Boyan, looking back at what happened this year, what would you say are some of the highlights for you?
Well, some of the highlights, you can see that from the first moment, Al Ahly was team that dominate in their group. They have really strong group with teams from Kuwait, from Bahrain, from Jordan. They went through, the second stage, basically they never concede a goal. They really dominate, and definitely there were one good point. For me, there were some other surprises, like a team from North Korea. Nobody expected they will finish in the final, 25th April. And they were really competitive. Every match they really fight. This was good to watch. Also, maybe one of the small things was the team Abahani United from Bangladesh finished top of the two teams from India. So this was one of these nice surprises that everybody expects. So I believe that overall it was really interesting this year.
And Roshan, I of course was with you at the 2019 AFC Cup final between Al Ahly and 4.25 SC. Tell us a little bit about what went on that day, the excitement.
Yeah, I think there was a nice little build-up. We were there involved the day beforehand as well, talking to the players and the coaches and interviewing them. And you got this sense that there was a lot of pride coming out from the teams that were participating. They knew how much it meant. Not just creating history for their clubs, but creating history for their country. Al Ahly eventually becoming the first Lebanese side to win the competition, and 425 SC, it's part of their development, part of their goal. They've come into the latter stages over the last 3 years or so. They were in the final proper of the competition, and it was a little bit disappointing for them, sure, to lose out. But look, they probably will come back again next year, and again will be one of the favorites to go through all the way into the latter stages once again. And you just sort of get that sense from how much it means to these players, how much it means to these teams. And when you look at the competition overall, there were sides who were really good quality. Hanoi, for example, could easily have been in the final as well, in the place of 425 SC. And they played some wonderful football at times that really got me excited. One of my favorite sides to watch, Hanoi. And again, storylines, Abahani, as Boyan mentioned, from Bangladesh, doing well in the competition. It was nice to see them give 425 a big fight in the semi-finals as well. So yeah, lots of interesting storylines. The West Asian side always very competitive, and you got some of the sides from East Asia, from the ASEAN zone, going through and making a big impact as well.
And Boyan, looking ahead for the 2020 AFC Cup, which teams are your favorites and that you're looking forward to seeing competing, as well as maybe somebody that could be a surprise?
If you check every year, it's basically coming the champions of the strong countries, like from Jordan, Al Faisali will be in, from Kuwait, Al Kuwait. This is always Al Ahly, again, Lebanese team. I think that they will always be candidates to be there. Bengaluru from India, that have good past in AFC Cup. This is teams that can go through. Maybe Turkmenistan or Dordoy from Kyrgyzstan can surprise, or Istiklal also that were in the past in the final. This is all standard teams that are always favorites. So if you see all these names, I think that we can expect very tough competition this year.
How about someone that we don't expect that might just come out of the blue and, like we saw 4.25 in 2019?
But this was last year, but this year you expect from them, because last year they did well. You expected this year, if they were in the final, they will win the tournament.
True.
So, of course, that you need to look for some new teams that can surprise.
Okay, how about you, Roshan? Any teams from East Asia that could spring another surprise?
Well, I know we speak a lot about 425, and Taipo will be in there as well. Another chance for Taipo to perhaps go a step further than they did in 2019. Aside from East Asia, you look at the ASEAN zone, and that's something that's a part of the competition that's actually really interesting because of how much rivalry there is in this part of the world, how much it excites the fans. And when you think of Bali United coming back into the competition, the champions of Indonesia coming back in, and Makassar perhaps, if they go through the playoffs, coming in as well. You've got Tampines Rovers from Singapore, who are very comfortable playing at this level. And then, of course, you've got teams making their debuts. Hougang United, for example, coming into the AFC Cup for the first time in their history. And they've invested in their squad over the last year or so to try and reach this stage of Asian football, continental football, and they'll be hoping to make their mark there as well. So, you know, everywhere you sort of look, there are high quality sides, and you expect it again to be nice and competitive once it all kicks off. And I also want to mention from Bangladesh, Bashundhara Kings, you know, coming in, they'll be a side to keep an eye out on as well in their group, and they've also invested heavily. So all these sides will be looking to try and make a big impact when the tournament kicks off.
All right, plenty to ponder there, gents. Thank you so much, Boyan. Thank you, Roshan. Coming up next, though, we will be focusing on the teams in the 2020 AFC Champions League.
Draw mechanism West. The first, second and third drawn club from Port 1, UAE, will go into position A1, B2 and C3 respectively, while the winner of playoffs 1 will be placed into position D4. The same draw order applies for Port 2, Saudi Arabia. First drawn club from Port 3, Qatar, will go to position C1, second drawn in D2, while the winner of playoffs 3 and 4 will be drawn into positions A3 and B4. First drawn club from Port 4, Iran, will go to position D1, while second drawn clubs will go to position C4 respectively. Based on draw principles, Uzbekistan League champion will go to the remaining available position in B3, while Iraq League champion will go to position A2 accordingly. Draw mechanism East. East scenario 1. Korea comes first from country port. The first, second and third clubs drawn from Port 1, Korea, will go into positions E1, F2 and G3 respectively, while the winner of playoffs 1 will be placed into position H4. The first, second and third drawn clubs from Port 2, China, will go into positions F1, G2 and H3 respectively, while the winner of playoffs 2 will be placed into position E4. The first and second drawn clubs from Port 3, Japan, will go into positions G1 and H2. The winners of playoffs 3 and 4 will be placed into position F4 and E3 respectively, based on the draw principles. First drawn club from Port 4, Australia, will go to position H1, while second drawn into F3 respectively. Based on draw principles, Thailand League champion will go to the remaining available position in G4, while Malaysia League champion will go into E2 accordingly. East scenario 2, China comes first from country pot. The first, second and third drawn clubs from Port 2, China, will go into positions E1, F2 and G3, while the winner of playoffs 2 will be placed into position H4 respectively. The first, second and third drawn clubs from Port 1, Korea, will go into position F1, G2 and H3, while the winner of playoffs 1 will be placed into position E4 respectively. The first, second drawn clubs from Pot 3, Japan, will go into positions G1 and H2, while the winners of playoffs 3 and 4 will be drawn into position E3 and F4. E Scenario 2.1. China comes first from country pot and then Pot 3 winner in Group E. First club drawn from Pot 4, Australia, will go to position H1, while the second drawn will go to position E2. Based on draw principles, Thailand League champion will go to the remaining available position in F3, while Malaysia League champion will go to position G4 accordingly. E Scenario 2.2. China comes first from country pot and then Pot 4 winner in Group E. First drawn club from Pot 4, Australia, will go to position H1, while second drawn clubs will go to position F3 respectively. Based on draw principles, Thailand League champion will go to the remaining available position in E2, while Malaysia League champion will go to position G4 accordingly. This will conclude the draw for the AFC Champions League 2020 group stage.
Welcome back to the studio for today's coverage of the 2020 AFC Champions League draw. My name is Reem, and as they have been with me throughout today, we have with us two gentlemen, no strangers to Asian football. We have former Malaysian Under-19 coach Boyan Hodak, as well as former Warriors FC midfielder Roshan Rai. And of course, we're going to be digging into their minds to see what they have to say about the upcoming season. Gents, quality sides as always. Boyan, maybe you can start off by giving us highlights from the previous season and, you know, the key moments that you still remember.
I think that everybody will always remember final match. Everybody will talk about how Al Hilal win the tournament. To be honest, I think that they deserve, because through the whole tournament they were most consistent team. From the group stage till the end, they show the quality. But for me, very impressive this season was that all matches were very competitive. There is no more like some previous seasons where one team will trash other, you will have results 5-0 or something like that. Yeah. This year, for me, the best thing was Group D, where you have 4 teams after 6 matches. They were between 3 points. From top team to bottom team, it was 3 points difference, and bottom team was last year finalist Persepolis. So it's showing that Asian Champions League become very competitive, which is important because players need tough matches to improve. And it's showing this is for them window to Europe. This is for them window to whole world. Everybody are now following, all scouts, all clubs, big clubs following Asian Champions League. And for players, this is stage to show them, to prove themselves and to go to the next level.
Roshan, you were present at the finals for across both legs between Al Hilal and Urawa Red Diamonds. How was it? How was the atmosphere, the excitement?
I mean, the atmosphere was incredible, I think, from both sets of fans, and I think it's a credit to them. And to be fair, I think we've seen some really good atmospheres throughout the competition. I think we've got to give a lot of credit to the fans of the sides that have taken part in the Champions League in 2019. Yeah. But coming back to the final, and you know, just remember from Riyadh and just the whole build-up around it, the atmosphere around it, and the fans coming in, the supporters groups in there about 3 hours before kickoff, already getting warmed up, starting with the cheering and the chants, and you know, slowly begin to fill up. And it was a lovely atmosphere and a very nice ground. I think the King Saud University Stadium is really unique. It's compact, it's built for football, so you get these fans right on top of you and creating a really wonderful atmosphere. You can feel all that passion. And I was pitch side, doing a bit of pitch side reporting. You could barely hear yourself, you know, delivering your lines and your analysis and things like that. And it was the same at the Saitama Stadium, and the Urawa fans as well were incredible, you know, singing, jumping throughout. And despite some difficult moments for the team in the second leg, you know, their response, their reaction to actually going a goal down on the night to Al Hilal was to just keep singing, keep cheering the team on. So it was great to see sort of two different groups of fans, you know, really both very impressive in how they supported their sides. And obviously the Al Hilal fans went home the happier. Yeah.
And like the AFC Cup 2020, the winner, of course, gets an automatic entry into the 2021 Champions League. Boyan, could you tell us how important is this competition for Asian teams?
I think that all Asian teams want to go to be winner to go to the World Cup, Club World Cup. And at the end, is for all teams, this is, as I said before, same like in AFC Cup, that they must have some target, they must have carrot, they must have, in professional football now, there is so much money. For professional clubs and players, target is money. They want to be winner, they want to go to the next stage, earn more money. Simple.
And you, Roshan, anything to add to that?
No, I think, you know, it's quite right that we're seeing, you know, the competition develop. You know, Asia is a massive continent, and you can't just think of, you know, it works in Europe, so let's just bring it over and let it work here. And I think, you know, it takes time for the game to develop, and I like what they're doing behind the scenes, the work that's being done to sort of grow the game. And in 2021, we'll have more teams participating in it. It's an expanded competition, and you're going to see the defending champions from 2020 come in. And I think it's quite right as well that you have you give the defending champions an opportunity to sort of defend their title and say, you know, you won it, can you defend it again in 2021? And that's up to the team in there. And of course, it gives them that additional boost, you know, to try and qualify, come back again, and see what they can do, whether they can retain the title. So, you know, potentially there could be a little bit of history in the making there as well. So, you know, I think it's a great idea to expand the competition. It's a great idea to reward the winners of competitions. And, you know, it just gives these teams, again, as I said, an additional boost in there. Aside from being champions of Asia, get an opportunity to go to the Club World Cup or whatever it is, and also to defend your title the season after that. So I think it's just going to give the game a big boost.
Yep, we have a very exciting season ahead of us. Once again, thank you so much, Roshan Rai, as well as Boyan Hodak, for joining us today. Very valuable insights. My name is Reem, and I will be back very shortly to give you all the highlights from the upcoming draw. For now, we're going to turn the attention to the teams who are involved in the 2020 Champions League draw.